So in the ongoing saga involving the Zimbabwe exemption permit holders have won a court victory against the Department of Home Affairs. The department tried to overturn an interim interdict granted to the Zimbabwe Immigration Federation that prevented the arrest and deportation of ZDP holders. Well, joining me now for more on this is Benjamin Kinichi from the Zimbabwe Immigration Federation. Mr. Kinichi, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, so I think we also need to explain really what this ruling means for the ZDP holders in the country, but of course your response to that failed attempt by the Minister of Home Affairs.
Thank you very much for having us, and good evening to your viewers. And from the Federation's perspective, we would want to also send our condolences to the passing of the former President of the Republic of Zambia. May his soul rest in peace. Back to the ZDP issue, I think it's a relief for ZDP holders, because if you look at the Federation's case, or Part A of our case, it was looking mostly on the protections, interim protections that were necessary pending the hearing of Part B of our case. So if you may know, we had broken our case into two parts because of the agency that was at the time in 2021 when the exemptions were terminated. So those exemptions ensured that ZDP holders remained legal in the country until Part B of our case would be heard. So it's a huge relief for ZDP holders, because what that means is that the protections have been re-established, and the protections are still in place that allow ZDP holders to remain legal in the country.
Yeah, but of course there is the issue now that means that this particular ruling speaks of not just the protections of being legal, but also how they're treated in their interim, right? I mean, you've talked about where you essentially are trying to see work that ends, I suppose, leads to prevented arrest and deportation.
That's correct. That's correct. And those are some of the issues that we ZDP holders have been facing. I mean, we have had several issues. I mean, it's a myriad of issues that too much to discuss here. But I think most of it is the arrests that have been happening to ZDP holders while they are legally in the country, and also deliberate efforts by officials at the ports of entry, where they were forcing ZDP holders to get temporary visas at the borders, where they were given, say, 30 days or 60 days to be in the country when they are legal. Now, this has been happening because of the gray area that was in between the court order of the 23rd of June 2023 and the Supreme Court of Appeal hearing, which was causing so many confusions in the meantime to say, do ZDP holders have protections or do they not? So I think that's how important this SCA appeal hearing was, and also the pronunciations that came with it, that also rubber stamps the fact that ZDP holders are still legal in the country and the protections are still on for ZDP holders.
Yeah.
While we await the hearing of Part B of the ZIF case.
Yeah, just to get our viewers up to speed here. So the Zimbabwe exemption permit regime really was introduced in South Africa back in 2009, and this was to assist those that were leaving Zimbabwe on the back of very difficult economic times, and a way for South Africa really to deal with what they called the waves of Zimbabweans that were coming into the country. So at the moment you have, I think it is just under 200,000 holders of these permits, 180,000, perhaps you can assist me with those numbers, Benjamin. But one of the arguments that you then put forward as the Federation is that you would like for the Home Affairs Minister to not have the authority over what happens with ZDP holders, and you feel that that is a matter rather for the Court. Explain that to me.
Thank you very much. I think we need to understand also the history of the ZDPs. The ZDPs did not start as ZDP permits. The ZDPs started in 2009 as DZP permit, which was the Dispensation of Zimbabwe permit. And when those permits were put in place, or those exemptions were put in place for Zimbabwean nationals, it was targeted to certain Zimbabwean nationals. So it's not all Zimbabwean nationals. And while we are on that note, we need to understand and differentiate the fact that ZTP holders are legal immigrants. They cannot be grouped together as illegal immigrants. And it speaks now to what I was about to say,
Yeah.
that in 2009, when these exemptions were given to, or granted rather, to ZDP holders, there were conditions that were considered for them to be granted. So Section 31 of the Immigration Act speaks of special circumstances. So, on that note, there was DZP, there was another permit up to the point where we get to the ZTP permit, which is three different kinds of permits that are sitting under Section 31 of the Immigration Act. But then our argument in Part B of our case was that we had an ultra vires argument, which meant that the minister lacked authority to not to extend the ZTP exemptions, or the exemptions that were granted under Section 31. And the reason for that, which the Gauteng High Court also agreed with us in Part A of our case, was that the minister did not show good cause, because the Act is clear about that, because it says, on good cause, the minister can withdraw those exemptions. So the exemptions in themselves come with constitutional. In 2009, there's
Yeah.
nothing that would have. In 2009, there's nothing that would have or restricted the minister from allowing other temporal exemptions other than Section 31 of the Immigration Act, because Section 31 of the Immigration Act now comes with